Ah, look who showed up. The lone operator, the one who walks without permission. The soul who stopped asking for backup, stopped begging for company, stopped pretending they needed a tribe to survive. Welcome back, you beautiful isolated apex. Predator, you. Magnificent solo mission. You untamed frequency operating on a wavelength they can't even detect, let alone understand. And oh, they're losing their minds over it, aren't they? You see, they've been watching you move through this world alone. No crew, no clique, no safety net, no emotional support group, and it's driving them absolutely insane. Because in their world, in their limited programming, you're not supposed to function like this. You're supposed to need them, need validation, need witnesses, need cheerleaders, need someone to hold your hand through every decision. But you just keep moving, building, executing, thriving, and you're doing it completely solo. And that breaks every rule in their book. They thought isolation would weaken you. They thought loneliness would crack you. They thought operating without backup would expose your vulnerabilities. But instead you became more focused, more dangerous, more unstoppable than ever. Before. And now they're sitting in their little groups, their comfortable tribes, their safety circles, whispering the same question over and over. How the hell are they doing this alone? How are they not falling apart? How are they getting stronger without us? Here's what they'll never admit. Your solo operation terrifies them because it reveals the truth. Most people don't operate in groups because they're strong. They operate in groups because they're weak. They need constant validation. They need mirrors. They need echoes. They need people around them to convince them they're making the right choices. But you stopped needing that confirmation years ago. You learned to trust your own instincts, to make decisions in silence, to execute without applause, to validate yourself from within, and that is what makes you dangerous. They watch you make moves without consulting anyone. They watch you cut ties without explanation. They watch you build empires in silence, while they're still having committee meetings about what color to paint the walls. You don't ask permission. You don't seek approval. You don't wait for consensus. You just move, and every time you do it, sends a shockwave through their system, because you're living proof that their entire social structure is optional. When you started operating solo, they thought you were lost. They thought you were lonely. They thought you were going through a phase. They waited for you to come crawling back, needing friendship, needing connection, needing their acceptance. But you never did. You just kept rising, kept building, kept evolving. And now they realize it wasn't a phase, it was an awakening. Let me tell you what's really happening behind their eyes. When they see you operating alone, they see freedom. They see someone who doesn't need their approval, doesn't fear their rejection, doesn't require their presence. And that absolutely terrifies them. Because if you can thrive without them, then what's their value? What's their leverage? What's their power over you? Nothing. And people who build their entire identity around being needed, they can't handle someone who doesn't need them. You became the nightmare scenario for every manipulator, every controller, every person who uses social pressure as a weapon, because you removed yourself from their battlefield. You stopped playing the game where they make the rules. You created your own game, your own rules, your own victory conditions, and you're winning spectacularly without them. They tried isolation as punishment. They ghosted you, excluded you, left you out, hoping you'd break, hoping you'd beg, hoping you'd compromise yourself just to get back in the circle. But you took that isolation and weaponized it. You turned loneliness into focus. You turned silence into strategy. You turned abandonment into liberation. And now you're so far ahead they can't even see your shadow anymore. And here's the part that really kills them. You're not bitter about it. You're not angry. You're not seeking revenge. You're just thriving, existing, glowing in your solo lane. And your peace, your genuine don't need. Anybody peace is more offensive to them than any insult you could throw. because it proves they were never necessary. You don't miss them, you don't think about them, you don't talk about them, you just build. And every brick you lay without their help is another nail in the coffin of their ego. They thought your strength came from connection, but your strength came from disconnection. They thought your power needed witnesses, but your power needed privacy. They thought your growth required community, but your growth required solitude. You figured out what most people never learn, that sometimes you have to walk alone, not because nobody wants to walk with you, but because the path you're on requires a frequency most people can't match. You're not antisocial. You're selectively social. You're not lonely. You're intentionally alone. There's a massive difference between isolation forced upon you and solitude chosen by you. One is punishment. The other is power. And you chose power. They watch you operate, and they can't figure out your support system. They can't identify your advisors. They can't trace your network, because there isn't one. There's just you, your instincts, your vision, your execution. And that terrifies them, because they've been taught that success requires teams, requires mentors, requires connections, requires playing politics. But you're shattering that illusion with every solo victory. When you win alone, it's louder than when they win in groups. When you build alone, it's more impressive than when they build with armies. When you survive alone, it proves you're made of something they'll never understand. And they hate that. They hate that you don't need their validation. They hate that you don't fear their abandonment. They hate that you turned their weapon isolation into your greatest strength. Let me tell you what goes through their minds. When they see you thriving solo, they think, what's wrong with them? Why don't they need people? Are they broken? Are they cold? Are they heartless? And the answer is no, you're not broken. You're just built different. You're not cold. You're just clear. You're not heartless. You just learned to guard your energy like the precious resource it is. You stopped explaining yourself to people who were never going to understand. You stopped defending your choices to people who were always going to judge you. Stop trying to make people comfortable with your independence because you realized their comfort is not your responsibility. Their understanding is not your job. Their acceptance is not your goal. You have a mission, and that mission doesn't require their permission. They wanted you to be weak, wanted you to be dependent, wanted you to be controllable. But you became the opposite. You became self-sufficient, self-reliant, self-validated, and now they're stuck watching someone they thought they could manipulate, become someone they can't even reach. Your solo operation isn't loneliness. It's strategic isolation. It's not antisocial. It's anti-distraction. It's not fear of people. It's protection of peace. You're not running from connection. You're running toward purpose. And purpose doesn't always come with a crowd. Sometimes it comes in silence. Sometimes it comes alone. Sometimes it comes when you finally stop waiting for someone else to believe in you and start believing in yourself with such intensity that their doubt becomes irrelevant. They paranoid. Now really paranoid because they can't predict. You can't control. You can't manipulate someone they can't reach. And you're unreachable. You're not ignoring their calls. You just don't hear them anymore. You're on a different frequency, operating in a different dimension, playing a different game, and they're still stuck on level 1, wondering why their old tactics don't work on you anymore. Here's what they don't tell you about operating solo. It makes you sharper. When you have no one to consult, you learn to trust your gut. When you have no one to blame, you take full responsibility. When you have no one to celebrate with, you learn to validate yourself. And those 3 skills, instinct, responsibility, self-validation, those are the holy trinity of power. That's what makes you unstoppable. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes them paranoid as hell. You're not lonely. You're liberated. You're not isolated. You're elevated. You're not alone. You're in your own lane. And that lane is a highway to places they'll never reach because they're too busy, looking for passengers while you're too busy driving. When they see you operate solo and succeed solo and thrive solo, it breaks their brain because they've been programmed to believe humans need humans to survive. And yes, humans need humans, but you need the right humans or no humans at all. And you chose no humans over wrong humans. And that choice is what separated you from the herd. Let's go deeper into their paranoia, because this is where it gets really good. They're not just confused, they're obsessed. They refresh your page, they check your status, they ask mutual friends about you. They want to know how you're doing it, who you're talking to, what your secret is. And the secret is, there is no secret. You just stopped giving your energy to people who didn't deserve it. You stopped waiting for permission from people who had no authority. You stopped seeking validation from people who didn't value you. And when you did that, when you reclaimed all that wasted energy, you became unstoppable. They're paranoid because they know they lost access. They know they lost leverage. They know they lost control. And people who are used to controlling you, losing that control, feels like the world is ending for them. They thought they could puppet you with guilt, with shame, with fear of loneliness. But you cut every string. You walked away from the puppet show, and now you're writing your own script, directing your own movie, starring in your own life. And they're just extras in the background, wondering how you got the leading role. Your solo operation is a statement. It says, I don't need your approval to exist. I don't need your presence to thrive. I don't need your validation to know my worth. And that statement, that's a declaration of war on their ego. Their entire identity is built on being needed, being included, being part of something. And you proved that you don't need to be part of anything except yourself. They thought loneliness would humble you, but it empowered you. They thought isolation would break you, but it built you. They thought operating solo would expose your weakness, but it revealed your strength. And now they're stuck in their groups, their tribes, their circles, talking about you, wondering about you, obsessing about you, while you're not thinking about them at all. That's the real power, isn't it? Not needing them, not thinking about them, not being affected by their opinion. You're in your own world, building your own empire, and they're just spectators, watching from the outside, pressing their faces against the glass, trying to figure out how you did it. Here's what they'll never understand. You didn't become strong by surrounding yourself with people. You became strong by removing everyone who made you weak. You didn't find yourself in a crowd, you found yourself in solitude. You didn't discover your power through connection. You discovered it through disconnection. And now that you know who you are without them, you'll never need them again. Your solo status isn't a phase, it's a lifestyle. It's not temporary, it's permanent. It's not weakness, it's warfare. You're not hiding, you're hunting. And what are you hunting? Purpose, clarity, peace, power. And none of those things require a crowd. They're paranoid because they see you winning without their help. They see you happy without their presence. They see you growing without their input. And it makes them question everything. Makes them question their own friendships, their own connections, their own need for constant company. Because if you can do it alone, why can't they? And the answer is they can't. They don't have what you have. They don't have the strength, the clarity, the self-sufficiency. They're dependent on external validation, and you generate your own. Let me tell you what happens when you operate solo for long enough. You become addicted to the peace. You become addicted to the freedom. You become addicted to the clarity. And once you taste that, once you experience life without unnecessary voices, without unsolicited opinions, without energy, vampires disguised as friends, you can never go back. You'll never tolerate surface-level connections again. You'll never settle for mediocre company again. You'll never compromise your peace for someone's presence again. They wanted you to be lonely, but you became selective. They wanted you to be desperate, but you became disciplined. They wanted you to be weak, but you became a weapon. And now they're paranoid because they realize they created their own nightmare. They pushed you into isolation, hoping it would destroy you, and instead, it forged you. Your lone wolf energy has them shook, because lone wolves don't follow the pack rules. Lone wolves don't wait for permission. Lone wolves don't seek approval. They hunt alone, they move alone, they survive alone, and they thrive alone. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're not waiting for a tribe. You're not searching for your people. You're not trying to fit in because you finally realized you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. They're watching you now, really watching you, not with admiration, with fear, because fear is what people feel when they realize they can't control you, can't predict you, can't manipulate you. You're off the grid, off the radar, off their map. And that makes you dangerous, makes you unpredictable, makes you free. When you operate solo, you answer to no one, you compromise with no one, you wait for no one. You're your own boss, your own team, your own army. And that level of independence, that level of self-sufficiency, that level of I don't need anybody energy is what's making them lose sleep at night. They thought you needed them for support, for guidance, for validation, for connection. But you needed none of it. You needed space, you needed silence, you needed solitude. And in that solitude, you found something they'll never find: yourself. Let's talk about what really happens in their group chats, in their private conversations, in their whispered discussions about you. They say things like they've changed, they're different now, they're too independent, they're cold, they act like they don't need anyone. And what they're really saying is they're not controllable anymore, they're not manipulatable anymore, they're not one of us anymore, and they're right. You're not one of them anymore because you evolved beyond their frequency, you outgrew their circle, you transcended their level, and now you're operating in a dimension they don't have access to. Your solo operation is your superpower. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. It's not weakness, it's strength. It's not loneliness, it's liberation. You're not isolated, you're insulated from their drama, from their negativity, from their manipulation, from their control. And that insulation is what's allowing you to build, to grow, to thrive without interference. They're paranoid because they can't figure out your next move. They can't predict your decisions. They can't influence your choices because you stopped broadcasting, you stopped explaining, you stopped sharing your plans. And now you just execute. And every time you execute successfully, without their input, without their advice, without their blessing, it proves you never needed them in the first place. Here's the truth. They don't want you to know. Most people who operate in groups aren't strong. They're scared. Scared of being alone. Scared of making decisions. Scared of being responsible. Scared of being judged. And they use the group as a shield, as an excuse, as a safety net. But you don't need a safety net because you're not afraid of falling. And even if you fall, you know you'll get back up alone just like you've done 1,000 times before. Your lone wolf energy is making